And so finally he said, well, we won't say you're coming for an interview. We'll hire you as a consultant. If you'll just come down and consult with us about our undergraduate program. We want to do away with our undergraduate program as it is and rework things. And so I said, well, all right. So guess when they brought me to Tallahassee? It was in March, and I left Indianapolis in a sleet storm and arrived in Tallahassee with all the camellias and the azaleas and every flower that could be known to mankind was blooming at that one week, which they don't do nowadays, but they did that year. And I fell in love with Tallahassee without any question. But I wasn't so thrilled that I didn't really negotiate heavily with them. And when I finally negotiated and they offered me everything I asked for, I actually cried. My wife and I both cried right there at the telephone because we had never lived outside of Indiana. And we were going to this godforsaken place in Tallahassee, Florida. And it's a long way from everywhere until you actually live here and become accustomed to how wonderful it is. And so we came, and of course the very first week I was here I lost my keys, and we had this Wicked Witch of the North was our assistant, the dean's assistant, and she just looked at me like I was some nobody. How could I lose my keys in the first week that I was here? But I survived, and things went on, and I really did enjoy that I made that decision.
Well, talk a little bit about some of the things that you have liked about being here, some of the special events or activities that have occurred while you were on the faculty.
Well, while I was on the faculty, we did do away with that undergraduate program because we wanted to develop a different one. It was a arts and sciences undergraduate program, and it really didn't, it was more like for technical assistance in a library rather than somebody who really could do anything really significant. So I felt very happy that we were able to phase that out and strengthen the school library media program, which was very strong, but we actually strengthened it. And I became very active in the Florida Association for Media and Education, which I'd been very active in the Indiana School Librarians Association. But when I came to Florida in '71, they were in the process of merging 3 associations. They were in the process of merging the Florida Association for School Librarians, the Florida Audiovisual Association, the Florida Association for Educational Television. And within 3 years, FAME was formed, and Florida Association for Media and Education, and I became very active. I was the first, this is something you also have to look for leadership, is find some kind of dirty job that needs to be done in an association to get yourself into it. In Indiana, I was the treasurer. Nobody really wanted to be treasurer of the Indiana Association, so I was treasurer for 3 years. But in Florida, I was the membership chair. They were forming this new thing, and of course they didn't have any computerized membership, and I had access to punched cards. We had a machine on campus that could generate your address list on punch cards, and then you could reorganize them, you could sort them, you could do all kinds of things on punch cards, and generate mailing labels without having to hand type them like we had to do, or we'd type the list and then you'd have to crank them off on a copy machine of some kind to generate mailing labels for these things. So I became membership chair. Then eventually I became president-elect and president of FAME. But you have to sometimes do the dirty kinds of things which need to be done but are not very glamorous to get yourself started in these things. You got to pay your dues. You just don't come in there with all this wonderful glory kind of things, and I did that. So by 1976, I was president of FAME. I was president of the Division of Educational Media Management in the Association for Educational Communications and Technology. I had a new book come out in 1975 that was very, very popular because also I'm one of these unique individuals that can do a lot of public service and also do a lot of research. And that doesn't happen very often. I'm not trying to say that you all out there can do that. I just was lucky to get all those things intermeshed in my body that I could compartmentalize things. I can do this for a while, I can do something else for a while. I don't have to just stick with something continuously. And that's not necessarily true. You may be the kind of person that can't do that. So you find what you can do and do it very, very well. And that's what most people have to do. So by 76, I was on top of the world. I was invited to speak everywhere. I was invited to go around everywhere. And the university was growing. We were doing very wonderfully. And then we decided to restructure our curriculum, and we got money to build a new building, the Shores building. And this was all in 78, 79. These things were all happening. And so by 1981, the fall of 1981, we had the wildest thing that could ever happen to any faculty. We had a brand new restructured curriculum, completely different from anything we'd ever done before. We were told within the last 3 months of that planning that we were switching from quarters to semesters. So we had it all designed on quarters, and we switched to semesters in 3 months. And that was not very successful. We had some really bad times those first couple of years in getting everything all sorted out. Then we moved into a new building in the fall of 1981. All this happened in the fall of 1980, and I happened to be chair of all these things. I was chair of the curriculum committee and chair of the planning and implementation committee for the new building. But I loved it. I mean, it was wonderful. We just had all this new stuff happening, and we were the toast of our campus. You know, it was incredible. We really had a lot of visibility that was important.